which that's like a small car. Hi guys, Katie Willeen with Velours Floral Design. Welcome back. Today we're going to be covering 11 different things to consider when you are looking at venues. And we're going to be covering everything from the size of the venue, the layout, to the acoustics, and what kind of insurance you may need. So, number one, of course, is the size of your venue. You do want to make sure that the venue you're looking at covers the amount of guests that you wanted to invite. So once you know their capacity, you also want to look into if they have a minimum guest requirement. Another thing to consider is, will the venue be too crowded? Just because it fits your amount of guests, if you cram them all in a tight space and you max out that capacity, you're gonna be really crowded. The second thing on my list is the layout of the venue. How will the wedding flow? Do you want your ceremony to have seating and then another area to have tables? Or will you have to have your guests sitting at the table when you're walking down the aisle? So you need to think of all the space. Do you want a separate cocktail area that's all its own thing already set up? Or are you gonna be moving things to get the party flowing? So if you don't mind doing those things, if that helps you keep the costs down, then that's okay. Number 3 is location. Can your guests make it easily to your wedding? Are they traveling 1-2 hours to get there? 2 hours is about the max that guests are willing to travel for a day thing. Once you surpass the 2-hour mark, you might want to consider looking into lodging options and group rates to put on your invitations for people to consider. If you're doing a destination wedding, you should also consider lodging. Are you paying for your guests to stay there, or are they paying their own way? They definitely need to know that on the invitation. Overall, a destination wedding can give you a little more bang for your buck because a lot of out-of-country venues are cheaper, have more amenities. Number 4 is accessibility. If you're inviting elderly people, small children, disabled, you need to consider what kind of hurdles would be in their way and how easily they'd be able to get around. Are there a lot of steps? Is it uneven terrain? Is there no protection from sun? If you notice things that would be a hurdle to some of these people, you could either put it on your invitation as a general information, or you could call that person and just give them a heads up so that they're prepared. Number 5 is cost and the flexibility of the venue. So we'll start with cost. The average wedding venue in America is about $12,000 to $14,000. Could get a lot cheaper. The average venue in Northern California, where I was from, was about $7,000 to $10,000. But I've also seen venues get upwards of $25,000, $30,000, which that's like a small car. If you can approach your venue with a open availability and flexibility for your date, if you're not set in stone on a date, you could maybe ask if there are times of years that their prices are lower to see if you could save some money. Some venues have slow seasons and they offer different pricing in those times of year to encourage people to fill those dates. The other thing to consider when looking at the cost is there lodging included? Do you just have it for 8 hours on a day or a 10-hour day, or do you get it for the whole weekend? Because if it's a weekend and you can actually stay there, a $25,000 venue might be worth it if you're lodging all of your people. Number 6 is amenities. Do they have a kitchen? Do they have bathrooms? Or do you have to bring bathrooms in? Do they provide the chairs, tables, plates, silverware? If the price includes these things, then it might be well worth the money because then you're saving a few $1,000s on rentals. Also look into the power sources. If you're getting married in the middle of the woods, you're gonna have to make sure that your DJ knows that there is no power out there and he's gonna have to bring his own. If it's a small venue or new, they might not know that a DJ requires at least 500 watts for his setup. And if you have lights on top of that, it might even be even more. So I would definitely call around to different DJs for their setups and figure out what kind of wattage they need. If it's a professional, like long-term venue, they're probably already good. But if it's kind of a off the beaten path kind of venue that you're looking at, I would definitely look into that. Number 7 is additional services. Do they have an in-house coordinator? Do they offer a team for setup and teardown? Does that cost extra? Do they do in-house catering? These are all questions to make sure you have written down when you visit the venues so that you can weed out any hidden costs that may confront you later. Number 8 is the ambiance. Does the venue vibe with your vision? Is it a garden venue? Is it a modern venue? Is it a country venue? Are there already lights set up? Maybe you don't have to pay for those. So make sure you're just looking out for your vision and if it's fitting those categories. Number 9 is the acoustics. We've definitely all been to that party where you cannot hear what the person right next to you is even saying. So if you ask your venue and they do admit that there is a problem with it getting loud, you could look into your local rental companies having sound panels, or your DJ might offer those. And if nobody does, you can always make your own or put up thick curtains. You always can do pull and drape with a thicker curtain, and that'll absorb some of the sound as well. But if you want to make your own panels, you can always look on Pinterest, and there's always different methods of creating your own. Number 10 is the pictures. Do you have a certain vision for what kind of photos you absolutely love and want taken on your wedding day? Do you want that gorgeous, majestic view, or do you want that garden background or that cool wall, rustic wall, or whatever? Of course, your photographer is so talented and can find those perfect spots no matter where you put them, but it's always good to think ahead for their sake. Also, one thing I do want to mention for the sake of my photographer friends is when you look at the getting ready place in the venue, look to see if it has yellowy tinged walls, because that's not good for photo taking. Go for more cool toned, airy setups with a lot of natural light, and that will make your photographer very happy with you. All right, so the last part of this list is number 11, and that is wedding insurance. Wedding insurance is here to protect your investment. I recently was on Facebook and saw a lot of brides really getting jilted by several venues. A few venues in the Southern California area had just completely overnight just gone under. They just closed their doors in one night. Nobody got any notification. And some brides, their wedding was next week. They didn't even get a call. So in that case, if you had wedding insurance, that would be covered if the venue wasn't able to get any of that money back from you. But even if they did return your deposit, you're out. Vendors, sometimes if you have to postpone a few days or a few weeks or months, you're out your invitations, you're out your vendors, you're out all these different costs. And so if you have wedding insurance, you are reimbursed for those things. Insurance also covers postponement due to sickness or injury for the bride, groom, or anybody that's key to the wedding party. That all being said, the insurance is not a bad price. The largest sum that I've seen out there was about $185. I think that's a good price for the potential of losing thousands of dollars. When should you get insurance? You can get insurance pretty much as soon as you've set your date and gotten your venue secured. However, some insurance policies have a cap on how far in advance you can get it, but that's okay. As soon as that time comes, you just get it. So where do I get insurance? Well, a general insurance provider will have different policies. There are some options on the internet. WedSure, WedSafe, Travelers does destination weddings. So you can look on the internet and there's different providers all over the place. A great resource for you is your coordinator. I highly, highly recommend coordinators. I will do a whole video on them, and they will know all about the insurance. They will know all about everything else that I talked about. So be sure to contact them first. That way you can have them along for the ride. There it is, you guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If this was a great informative video for you, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment about what was most helpful, or if you have any more questions about any of these things I talked about, leave a comment below. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and click the little bell notification button so that you don't miss what I come out with tomorrow. So just a reminder, there is a guide that goes along with this whole series. If you haven't downloaded it yet, it'll be in the description box below. And you can also return to my first video where I'll explain what that covers. And that's it. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.